But I want to talk about this story, and the title of this particular op-ed piece is called The Woke Industrial Complex. So I didn't make that phrase up. I stole it from this op-ed piece by Christopher Rufo, who's well known in commentary as somebody who's opposing this. And what I wanted to call to your attention, because this was actually discussed on a small listserv that I'm a member of by a group of folks. And, I don't know if you're aware of this, but, when President Trump was in office, he instituted an executive order. That's Executive Order 13950, which banned racial stereotyping, scapegoating, and discrimination in federal diversity programs, which have just about overwhelmed our federal government. And these are these woke programs, this woke culture that was developing last year, kind of in tandem with the so-called BLM movement. It's part of this critical race theory that we're seeing pushed into every area of our society, pushed into the school systems, pushed into now our corporations, Coca-Cola, movies, Hollywood saying we're not going to make movies in certain states if they don't have laws that are pro-abortion, or if they don't protect voting rights. By the way, protect voting rights means let non-citizens vote or let people who are ineligible to vote. That's what protect voting rights really means. They phrased it cleverly because they're propagandists, but what they really mean is letting people who aren't eligible to vote or letting somebody else vote their records for them and drop them off at some kind of drop box. That's what they really mean when they say protecting voting rights. But Lockheed Martin, which happens to be the nation's largest defense contractor, and you would think, a defense contractor, if you just had to flip a coin and say, okay, I think a defense contractor is going to be conservative, or I think a defense contractor is going to be liberal/progressive, which one would you pick if you had to pick? I'd probably pick conservative. I don't know. I thought the liberals and progressives hated war, hated the military-industrial complex, hated defense contractors. Well, it sounds like the defense contractors are taking the attitude, if you can't beat them, join them. And, Lockheed Martin sent 13 of its top employees. These were officers of the company. These were people in charge, basically senior leaders of various divisions of the company. They sent them to a woke training program to help them deconstruct their white male privilege and atone for their white male privilege. And, folks, we got some of the details on this. You're not going to believe it. The way that these programs go, I think, will be illustrative for you to understand what's going on with this critical race theory, this woke culture, and this idea of reprogramming that's being implemented all across our society.
Welcome back to the Morgan Streetman Show. Morgan, you're getting into a story about what's happening in some industries, the woke industry, and we're talking about a particular company, Lockheed Martin. Reminded me, they have, I don't know that it's headquarters, but I know they do have a location in Oldsmar.
Yeah, I've driven by that one a bunch. They got those funny fences that have the spikes on them. You don't want to try climbing over those fences. No, that's for sure. Well, this group, Lockheed Martin, you wouldn't think that they would be into woke culture, but everybody's into woke culture now. All the big businesses are into woke culture now. And they sent 13 of their executives to basically what amounts to a reprogramming event. And, I wanted to give you some of the details of how these events work because I haven't been to one. I haven't been to one of these reprogramming events. And I'll tell you, Streetman Law is not going to be sending any of its employees to any woke events. They're just not going to happen. But Lockheed Martin is doing it. Many of you may not have experienced it in your lives. You might say, well, what goes on at these events? What are these things like? Well, we got a little bit of detail from this op-ed piece by Christopher Rufo, and I wanted to share some of it with you. At the beginning of a program like this, these things are all started out as this sort of consensus-building exercise. They call it a free association. Just say whatever you think, and then whoever's facilitating this exercise is writing things on a whiteboard. You may have been to events like that where people just kind of calling out things. They throw out a topic and people start calling out answers, and those are getting written on the whiteboard. And interestingly, not every answer typically gets written on the whiteboard, but the ones that the facilitator thinks, this is leading in the direction that I want to facilitate. But this is totally free association. It just happens to be where we got to, right? Except for there's a facilitator who's managing the process for purposes of reprogramming. So they start this out with these 13 white male executives from Lockheed Martin, and say, why don't you give us some of your concepts, connotations for the term white men? And people start hollering things out. And apparently, these are the things that got written down at this particular training. Relating connotations, something that connotes or relates to or brings forward the idea of white men. Here's the phrases. Old. Okay, I guess old white men. Okay, all right. Old. Racist. Privileged. Boy, these are too easy. I mean, they could have just started out with these on the board, couldn't they? And we know this is where it's going. Old, racist, privileged, anti-women, angry. Gosh, angry white men. White men are so angry all the time. Aryan nation. I mean, who connotes that with white men? Aryan nation? I mean, that's going a little far, don't you think? KKK? That's one of the ones somebody throws out. White men equal KKK? Are you kidding me? Founding fathers? Okay, well, I mean, where is this going? What's the purpose of an exercise like this? Guns? Here's one. Guilty. Guilty. They should have
chips and dip, I would have yelled.
Pat George. Tequila. Come on. What in the world? Okay. Guns. Guilty. Guilty should have gone next to racist, right? Guilty. Wrong. Can't jump. Wow, I hope they didn't pay too much for this. White men can't jump. Are you kidding me? That's one of the connotations? Okay. I mean,
Sounds
again.
like we had some comedians in the group.
Yeah, I hope they didn't pay too much money for this training. I bet they did, though. I bet they did. And the whole purpose of this is that they're trying to get them to understand how many people think that white men don't care about diversity. This is the whole purpose. So this is what they're driving at, right? They drive at this. Now, later in the program, they try to assist these white men in understanding why the roots of white male culture are so poisonous to our society. And they say, this is coming right out of the program, by the way. The culture consists of traits. Now, I'm going to give you the traits that they list, this white male culture. Rugged individualism. A can-do attitude. We got to stop those people with can-do attitudes. Hard work. Boy, that's racist. Hard work is racist. Operating from principles. Oh, you mean like first principles, having a principle as opposed to just willy-nilly doing whatever you feel like? What would be the opposite of operating from principles? Doing whatever you feel like?
Willy-nilly doing whatever you feel like.
I mean, come on. Is that so operating from principles is racist? And just being a complete hypocrite, doing whatever you feel like, that's not racist? Neither one of those things have anything to do with race.
I tried
that's
the
what's
opposite,
so insane
and
about
I was
this.
sent to the principal all the time.
Striving towards success. There's another white male cultural trait. Striving towards success. That's what they list. Rugged individualism, a can-do attitude, hard work, operating from principles, and striving towards success. And what's so interesting, because I read that list and I'm like, wait a minute, what is wrong with any of these? I mean, how could you say that there's something wrong with any of those traits? Aren't those exactly what we want our population to have? Isn't that wouldn't that be a good thing if you had hard workers who were individualistic, who were highly principled and willing to strive for success?
Kind of describes you.
I mean, that to me sounds like a formula for a successful population. But apparently, that's racist. That's what they say. And here's what it's so obvious these traits are positive, they can't even hide it. So they say these traits are superficially positive, but what you don't understand, white men, because you just don't understand how terrible you are. You don't get it. These traits are, and they put this in quotes, devastating to women and minorities. These traits are devastating. Hard work is devastating. A can-do attitude is devastating.
Listen, I'm going to need both you guys to stop working so hard because I am broken over it, okay?
Roxanne, I don't think we can do this show. I don't know. I don't think we can do it. I don't know. I don't want you know what? Why don't we let's just go to commercial for the whole rest of the show, Pat George. I don't want to strive for success.
Morgan, less research from you, please.
I don't want to do any more research. I didn't want to talk. Let's do commercials for the whole hour from now on. Because I'm tired of this racist striving for success, having a can-do attitude and working hard. That's terrible. We need to stop that. Just go to commercial. We could just do ED commercials for the entire show.
How could you stay in that seminar?
I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. I'd be pulling my hair out listening to this. Okay, now I got to finish this out now because we spent enough time on this. I got to round it out here because this is the end of the program, and this is where they go through and they try to help these dense, stupid white men understand why these traits that they have are so devastating to women and minorities. And so to do this, they read a series of, quote, "I'm tired" statements. Now, these are fictitious statements from made-up people. These are not actually things that real people said. They just made this up. But, hey, look, it works. It gets us to where we're trying to go, so we'll use it. And these are the statements that they read to them to help white men understand how devastating their traits are to women and minorities. Here's the statements. I'm tired of being black. I'm tired of you making more money than me. I'm tired of people disparaging our campaigns like Black Lives Matter. I'm tired of black boys and girls being murdered. I'm tired of people thinking they're smarter and more qualified than me. I'm tired of hearing about how we need a wall at the southern border, but not on the northern border. I'm tired of the desire or comment to remove race. The concept that we should be colorblind. That's how they finish. They're tired. These fictitious people who didn't actually say this are tired of the concept that we should be colorblind. So why don't they just put, I'm tired of Martin Luther King Jr. I'm tired of his movement. I'm tired of everything he stood for. I'm tired of the racial equality that he was fighting for. I don't want that. Why don't they just finish with that statement? Because that's what they're saying, right? Where a person is judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And these fictitious minorities and women that are made up by these overpaid consultants are tired of that. They want more racism. They want more of life to be about race, not less. And that just doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to lead us to anywhere good. It's divide and conquer. And we've got our biggest corporations, Coke, United Airlines. We've got all these Delta, Lockheed Martin, the biggest corporate, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's fundamental primary membership is all bought into this woke culture, this divide and conquer strategy. Let's turn Americans against each other. And where does this all lead? Well, nowhere positive. I can tell you that. This is no way to run a country. It doesn't lead us anywhere positive. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.